Yeah. Okay, so my overall topic is basically studying the effects of visualization on sports performance, but more specifically after I researched more about what techniques I was interested in and met my mentor. My research question is, how does an aspect of sports psychology, such as visual and kinesthetic motor imagery, which is basically like a fancy word for visualization, affect performance of the girls varsity basketball team at SAS in terms of performance anxiety, confidence, and shooting percentage? So the three variables that I'm seeing whether the visualization interventions that my mentor and I will be conducting will have an effect on the three variables of performance anxiety, confidence, and shooting percentage. So it's a correlational study as of right now, and because I'm collecting data and determining the level of correlation between variables. And so my problem statement hasn't changed much since the start. It still basically talks about how I think that there could be, our high school athletes at SAS could be performing better, and that some of the reasons why we aren't is because our school doesn't focus at all about the mental strength of our student athletes. And so perhaps a study that investigates the effects of visualization methods on the performance levels of student athletes could demonstrate the positive impact of sports psychology. And so the significance to this, for me, I think, is that if I get the outcomes I hope for, which is that there's a positive effect over time with my three variables, there's a positive effect, then for significance, it will show that, it could benefit high school student athletes at SAS. And then in the long run, that could not only affect athletes, but also students in general in the population, as these techniques or psychological aspects could be applied to the academic atmosphere of SAS. So for example, teachers or counselors could have a visualization, technique with students, help them deal with nervousness for a test or a presentation. And so the bigger, the direct significance at first was to affect the athletes at SAS in high school, but now thinking about it, there's more of an impact, with the general population through, one of the things I'm focusing on is focusing on resilience, which is the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties. So basically, coping with challenges. And so that, to me, is crucial in sports and education as a whole. And so the bigger picture would be, learning techniques, but also how to be resilient for student athletes or just students in general. And then my goals and parameters have changed a bit. My goal first is to conduct a viable study, research my technique, and then hopefully I can learn some of it for myself and maybe lead a session towards the end. But initially my mentor is going to be leading them. And then constraints, mainly the time schedule, because it's kind of limited for during basketball season. And then my personal bias, which I'm limiting by collecting data during practices, not games, because in games, I directly can affect, the shooting percentage of other people. And there's so many factors in games, playing time and stuff. And so now I'm doing it in practices, which is one thing that I changed recently. And then I'm not going to look at the data until the end. So I'll get the coaches to collect them, but I won't be looking at it. And then also gym availability, mentor availability. And then the experimental and control group. So the experimental group is the varsity team, and then the control group is the JV team. So I'll be doing the sessions with the experimental group, and then I won't do anything with the control group until the end. I think I'll do one with them towards the end. So it's ethical because I'm still doing a session with them, just at a different time. And then, so ethical considerations. Some of my goals are kind of biased because I want to spread awareness about the field of sports psychology and educate the SAS community about the possible impact the mind has on performance. So in a way that's a bit biased. I need to consider that sports aren't important to some people, and a lot of cultures don't have sports in their schools. So that's one thing I need to consider. And then also, the different cultures, for example, typically sports are deemed more important in Western cultures compared to Asian cultures. And then also my personal bias with sports, growing up, at this school, at an American school, and being from the U.S. Sports is really important to me. So I need to consider that it's not to other people. Okay, I'm done.
How do you track visualization? Because I know if you say like, oh, don't visualize now, and then visualize now, and then do a couple 3 pointers. How do you make sure they're visualizing?
Yeah. So my like the visualization interventions, which will be I think around 15 minutes, with me and my mentor discuss, would be before a practice. So like we would do the intervention with my team, and then we go to practice. Like I wouldn't tell them when I'm going to collect data because they would kind of know, and I don't want that. So we're just gonna like it'd be normal practice. And then the ones I'm looking at, I'll ask my coach to do like shooting drills, and it's not really like that obvious if like you collect data because my coach's done that before. And so then he'd be like, oh, like, report back and like write this down there, and then they'd all go back and write it, and then I wouldn't look at it, and then I would just like kind of keep it in a folder. So like in the visualization interventions, like we'll be focusing on like how to shoot, like what makes a good shot, like priming words for shooting. And then solve a pre-test where like I don't do the interventions for the start of the season, and then mid-test, post-test. So I'll see kind of like if people's shooting percentages are going up. And then with confidence and performance anxiety too, I'll be measuring those through psychological scales. So like a questionnaire, like kind of what cats like a questionnaire. So I'll see if that changes over time with the techniques too.
So you're saying you're doing a correlational study.
Yeah, maybe not.
Oh.
I'm not sure like if it's correlational or not.
Oh, okay.
I realized that yesterday, that it may not be.
One of the key aspects of visualization is to reduce anxiety, performance anxiety in sports. How do you think that'll apply to practice versus a game situation? Because those are very different psychological environments, right? So.
Yeah, like that's the thing that I was struggling with for like a really long time because different people I was talking to like thought games or practices, and then recently I figured out like the JV team isn't going to be collecting data for games. Like I didn't know if they would or not, and I asked, and like they're not, so I can't really do games because then I won't have that JV data to compare. And like I can't get that myself. Like if I were to do games, which like if I thought JV was gonna do it, there's like an app that we used last year that just like you just film and then just picks it up. So we do that anyways, but the JV team doesn't do that. And I can't really ask like them to do that. It's a lot of like work. Yeah, I wanted to do games because I wanted that anxiety. But I can't figure out a way. I mean, I can't. Yeah, like he's doing like a couple players, so I need like the whole. I need the whole team.
This might sound bad, and I don't mean it to sound bad, but if you're doing it between JV and varsity, and you're doing isn't it gonna be like aren't the JV girls on the same level as the varsity girls?
Yeah, but still, like if they shoot like 5 or 10 free throws. Oh, like you say, like they should like make 2 out of 10, yeah. And like varsity makes like 5 out of 10 initially, like one player. Like it's still seeing if it improves. If it goes from 2 to 4, that's still good.
So you're not comparing them.
I'm not comparing scores. Yeah, no,
okay.
Just like whether like how much it improves or if it improves at all. Yeah.
Let's go back to anxiety one more time. Varsity sports has a lot more pressure on than does JV. Is that going to be a viable comparison between a JV team that's kind of well and a varsity which is quite
Yeah. I mean, once I realized I couldn't do games, which was recently, because I kept going back and forth, because there were lots of pros and cons between games and practices. Like even though games is more anxiety, like I have a bit of bias in games also because I'm like there, and I can affect it, which people could think is like unethical or whatever. And then also like there's so many factors in games, like playing time, like because some people like the data will be with free throws it's like okay everyone has to shoot, with a game it's like people may not score or shoot at all, like for the whole season, like I would never get that data.
Right. Sorry, putting a minute.
No, but like to answer your question, like what I was gonna do for practices is like if you like say you shoot 10 free throws, like whenever you miss, like you have to run. So it's not like I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out how to try and make it. Yeah, I'm trying to make this like cause some stress or anxiety.
You have to make sure that it's the same consequence of both sides.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you have work with coaches.
Yeah.